is just a memory, and tears are no more. We'll enter in as the wedding bells ring. Your bride will come together and we'll sing. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Stories of what they think you're like, and I've heard tender whisper of loving, dead of night. Tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. And I've seen many searching for answers, for and why, but I know we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are. I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. Perfect in all of your ways. Perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways, perfect in all of your ways, perfect in all of your ways to us. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are. I'm loved by you. It's who I am, who I am. It's who I am, good, good Father. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am. It's who I am. that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining like the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see. Lord, I come and I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. And without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Your grace is found, is where you are. Where you are, Lord, well, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. So teach my song to rise to you when temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand or fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. When I cannot stand or fall on you, Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. And you are my one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you.
This is a reading from Matthew's Gospel. Once a man came to Jesus, and he asked, "Teacher, what good thing must I do to receive eternal life?" Jesus answered, "Keep the commandments if you want to enter eternal life." "What commandments?" he asked. Jesus said, "Do not commit murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not accuse anyone falsely, respect your father and your mother, and love your neighbor as you love yourself." "I have obeyed all these commandments," the young man replied. "So what else do I need to do?" Jesus said to him, "If you want to be perfect, go and sell all you have and give the money to the poor, and you'll have riches in heaven. Then come and follow me." When the young man heard this, he went away sad because he had many possessions. The Gospel of the Lord. So my brother and my sister-in-law have a house, a summer house, out on Block Island. And over the years, they've been very good to me. They've allowed me to use it a lot of times. And almost every summer, not quite every summer, but a number of times over the years, I've been able to get the place for a weekend with my friends, guys I grew up with in Floral Park. So it's really just kind of like a boys' weekend. In fact, they sort of, they tell their wives that it's like a retreat weekend, hoping that'll sell it. It's kind of a joke because it's really not a retreat at all. There's a lot of laughing and fishing and wiffle ball, a lot of sitting by the fire, a little bit of drinking, I'm not going to lie. Just great. They're great weekends. Probably 6, 7 of us usually end up making the weekend. And it's just a great crew of guys, and a kind of a variety. A couple of city policemen, a couple of accountants, there's a couple of corporate guys, there's a carpenter, priest. Anyway, just great weekends, great memories. So I'm lucky to have it. The first weekend we did this was probably 10 years ago. And on Sunday, the last morning of this weekend, I said Mass in the living room in the house. And I brought what you needed. I brought the bread and the wine and the books. Set up in the living room. The coffee table kind of became the altar. And then something really interesting happened. Kind of wasn't expecting this. The group became very serious. The stories that had been told the previous 2 days, the sarcasm, the laughter, kind of the irreverence, kind of all went away. And we all just got very serious. I asked if a couple of them said, one of you guys want to do the readings, and they volunteered. Probably 2 of them took the readings. And I remember during the prayer of the faithful, the petitions, I guess I probably said a couple. And then I said, anybody have anything they want to pray for? And there was this kind of pause. Nobody said anything for a couple of seconds, and I kind of waited. I said, let me just give this a second or two, and then somebody said something. And the other guys kind of followed. And just, the things you'd expect. Prayers for their kids and their wives, and parents with declining health. And then when it was time for the the Eucharistic prayer when we all kneel here in church. We weren't in a church, we were in a living room, so it was like different. And one of these guys got out of the chair and went down on 2 knees. And then the rest just followed. They just kind of followed suit. So it was these, 5 or 6 of these guys just on their knees and kind of around this coffee table, and I'm on the other side of it. It was like the living room became a chapel. It was awesome. I knew they were going to be respectful. I wasn't surprised by the fact that we were now celebrating Mass and it was going to get serious. That was a given. But it became more than serious. It became reverent. I think it became like very holy and powerful and awesome. We were just very simply doing something together that we never really did. We were praying together. We had been at public masses together. They had all been at my first Mass. We all grew up in the same parish. We had been at thousands of probably masses together over 1 million years. But this was different. It was kind of like we were pulled from our comfort zones. It was a little awkward at first. It was maybe even a little uncomfortable at first. Responding to the prayers, the quiet after receiving communion. Guys kind of went back down to their knees and like heads were down, and it was a quiet prayer in the living room. Like, the living room became the chapel. On Sunday in church, in the parishes, it's easier, isn't it? We do it all together. We're like a herd. The strength in numbers, right? So, you say the prayers next to the other 150 people in the church. Or maybe if you're not saying them, you're not even really noticed. But there weren't big numbers at this Mass. There was no place to kind of hide. You really couldn't be anonymous in the living room. You couldn't be a spectator. And sometimes I think we do the spectator thing too much. We're here, we come here, but we're sort of up in the bleachers where it's kind of safe and anonymous and kind of comfortable. Man, this was not that. It wasn't comfortable at first. Man, but it was powerful. And I was talking to a guy from down here, Miraculous Medal and Point Lookout parishioner, and he was telling me about his involvement with the men's Bible study that we have here. Men meet every Tuesday night, and it's this great group of guys. And it's real simple. All they do is they look at the readings for the upcoming Sunday. I guess they read through them together, and then they talk about them. Kind of like each guy's take on what the gospel message was, or what the Old Testament reading was, what they thought it was being said. Anyway, what he was saying to me was, number one, how much he loves it, and number two, like how much he can't believe that he's at it, and how comfortable he's become with it. And other people have told me that he's become like a complete leader among this group. When he began, it was like he was sort of like spectator. I mean, he went to it more than most, but he certainly wasn't comfortable, sharing his faith, and he wasn't taking a leadership role. But now he has. And I just in hearing him tell me this at this party not too long ago, he seemed so happy about that. Like he was in such a great place with Jesus. Just kind of stepped away from that comfortable place. You know, I got a request and maybe like a challenge for all of you who are listening at home now, and it's this. You guys need to make your living room a chapel for the next couple of weeks, or maybe more. It doesn't have to be a chapel 24/7, because it's not. It's also a living room. But you got to make it a chapel at least once a week. You got to make that your church, because we can't be here, but we got to be together. Like, we can't go 4 or 6 or 8 weeks completely disconnected from each other and from Him. Like, that's a recipe for disaster. So you need to make your living room a chapel, or wherever it is you're watching these masses and any of these sort of church opportunities during this rotten period that we're in. You just can't be a spectator. You got to get out of the bleachers. And let me be specific if I could. Like the spectator thing, like I suspect it could be easy to like watch the Sunday Mass, but because we're not here, like maybe I'd have a cup of coffee in my hand, or the TV would be on in the next room. Well, like, turn it off and put the coffee down and shut out all the distractions and gather whoever's there and enter into it. Say the prayers. Respond when we're supposed to. And I know that might seem a little awkward at first, the way it was with my buddies in the house. But all it took was 1 or 2 to kind of like break the awkwardness, and the rest of us did it. When it's time to kneel, hey, if you can, get down on your knees. Make your living room a chapel. You know, it's this gospel. All Jesus ever did on a certain level was make people uncomfortable. He was always challenging people. The challenge wasn't always the same. The discomfort wasn't the same for everybody. But he knew where we needed to be stretched. He knew the comfort zone we needed to be pulled out of. And I'm just saying, I think during these weeks, and trying to do Mass, trying to do church in kind of this imperfect way, we've got to commit to it maybe more than ever, oddly enough. And I just think that for some, not all, but for some, that will be just uncomfortable for a while. This guy in the gospel, man, this guy was doing it all. And his goal was, he was asking all the right questions. I want to get to heaven. How do I do it? Follow the rules, the commandments. And he's like, I'm doing those. And then Jesus tapped into the one area where he wasn't doing it right. And he says, you need to come out of from where you're comfortable. And when you do that, then you'll get it. Then you'll know freedom. And this poor guy, at least up until this point, he walked away. Maybe he came back, but he walked away. Because he didn't want to, I guess he wanted to be in the bleachers. You know, the church has, for a long time, has had this great expression of, when it talks about the family, and it's called it the domestic church. Like, that's really, in some respects, our first church, or it should be, hopefully for most of us. Man, that's where we learned our prayers. We learned our prayers at home, probably in our bedrooms, before we learned them here. This domestic church, listen to this quote. This is from Pope John Paul II. Catholic parents must learn to form their family as a domestic church, a church in the home where God is honored, and his laws are respected, and where prayer is a normal event. Virtue is transmitted by word and example, and everyone shares the hopes and the problems and the sufferings of everybody else. All this is not to advocate a return to some outdated style of living. Rather, it's a return to the roots of human development and human happiness. The domestic church. So let's get uncomfortable. I mean, there will be so many aspects, and there already are, of discomfort. Talk to families, or I'm already hearing from families who are saying, man, I wish just sort of being on top of each other, and the lack of space, and how difficult that is, how much they'd love to be sort of have some distance. And you also talk to somebody who's living alone, and they're wishing they had somebody to have a conversation with. It's ironic, the different struggles. It's all connected to this, and it's all uncomfortable. But we'll survive that. I mean, think about, that when you were a kid, that diving board at the pool that you wouldn't jump off of, you were scared to death of, until you finally did. And before you hit the water, you were like, man, I'm going back up on this thing. Or the best man speech that you had to give at the wedding, and you were almost sick about it until you gave it. And you loved it. I mean, let's confront some of our discomfort. Let's not be the guy in the gospel. Let's make our living rooms a chapel during this tough time. There's a great, awesome quote from Pope Benedict, and he talks about discomfort. The world offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. So let this trial, this time, make us great.
He is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. And all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory. I realize just how beautiful you are, how great your affections are for me. And oh, how he loves us so, how he loves us so, he loves us so. Jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. When all of a sudden I'm unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, realize just how beautiful you are, how great your affections are for me. And he loves us, oh how he loves us, oh how he loves us, oh how he loves. And he loves us, oh how he loves us, oh how he loves us, oh how he loves. And we are his portion, he is a prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in his eyes. Grace is an ocean, we're all sinking, and heaven meets earth like an unforeseen kiss. My heart turns so violently inside of my chest. I don't have time to maintain regrets when I think about the way